Hi there, it's Nicole here today with the Clearly Besotted STAMPtember exclusive stamp set for Simon Says Stamp. It's called My Best Friend, and it's this fantastic color layering floral stamp set that creates the most gorgeous color layered flowers. And there's two wonderful sentiments in here: thank you, and then another one that reads, to my best friend. Mine are all going to feature the thank you stamp set. Other than the other greeting, I used all of the images for my cards today. And instead of doing just one color combo, I thought it would be fun to do three. The color combinations I'm using are listed across the bottom of the screen. I'll be doing quite a bit of this, and I have sped it up because it does take a little bit of time. However, a stamp positioner tool makes this process so much easier. I am stamping the solid image with my lightest color of ink. For each of these, the orange one I just showed, that's Melon. For pink, it's Twirling Tutu, and for the aqua, it's Spring Rain. Those are my light tones for each. If you see across the bottom of the screen, I've listed all three colors going from lightest to darkest. So next up for the orange flower, I'm going to go ahead and switch that out, line up the middle layer for this flower with my next color. And this is Clementine ink. And already you can see how amazing that detail is for the flower. Just wait till we get to that third layer. It is fantastic. The second layer for the pink flower is Teeny Bikini. Such cute names. I love the names for the Simon Says Stamp dye inks. For the blue flower, it's Audrey Blue, my most favorite blue color. Next, we're going to clean that stamp off and go ahead and move on to the next layer stamp. This is the final third layer, and look at that detail. This is Orange Peel for the orange flower, and it'll be Hot Lips for the pink flower. So it's almost a red color, but when layered with those pinks, it's just fantastic. For blue, my final color is High Dive. Now the blue is going to really stain those stamps. I did use a stamp cleaner right on my stamp to clean those off because I did not want any transfer of a dark color to a light. The leaves, I'm using Jellybean, Green Leaf, and Evergreen. The first layer is Jellybean. Just like before, I've listed the colors lightest to darkest. This is the next layer with the green leaf. The leaves, I think, I didn't realize how amazing they would look with the three layers, but once we get that third layer on there, so incredible. At this point, before I stamp any more of the flowers, I want to figure out where my greeting is going to go. Originally, I was going to use this stitched rectangle. I'm going to switch that out, which you'll see in a little bit, but that at least works as a guide to show me where that thank you needs to fit. I am stamping the thank you on all three panels using Versamark ink and heat embossing with Simon Says Stamp gold embossing powder. The gold embossing powder is really elegant. This is a nice simple greeting. I wanted it to stand out though, and I think the embossing powder really achieves that look. By stamping the greeting after I've stamped just one of the floral images and leaves, it really allows me to choose exactly where I want that to go and then move on and fill in the rest of the card with my flowers. This is really simple to do, but it does take a little time simply because I'm lining them up and switching colors. If I was not switching colors and was doing all of them in, let's say, the orange color combination, it would go so much quicker. But I like to make it kind of hard, I guess, and I love the variety. I think this would make a fantastic gift set for somebody. So super pretty. I think anyone would love to get a set of cards like this and have them on hand to send out when you need a thank you card, or you could switch up the greetings and put birthday greetings. A sympathy greeting I think would work nice here. Just a hello, anything really goes with flowers. Flowers are so versatile, and like I mentioned earlier, the layering of these is incredible. Once you have all three colors on each flower, they just come to life. I think it's really fun to see when you just have the 2 layers here or the 2-layer one and the 3-layer side by side, and how much of a difference and what a big impact it makes having that 3rd deep dark layer. Now I stamped that off, and you can see that this is a good example. I had not cleaned this 3rd layer off with a stamp cleaner prior to that. And for some reason I thought maybe I should test that on a piece of scrap paper. And sure enough, I had a lot of transfer of the high dive ink into that orange peel ink, which was awful. If I had stamped that, it would have ruined the panel. So after that, I got really careful about making sure my stamp was really clean before switching colors. It's not that hard. I tried to stick with my lighter colors, and then when I got to anything darker, which the orange peel stained a little bit, but the high dive ink was really bad about that, I made sure and cleaned my stamp really well before using it again. I'm going to flip my panel again and just continue to stamp these flowers. Once these are all stamped, I can start with the finishing details, which the cards itself would be incredible left just like this panel, or maybe even trimmed down 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, I guess, so that they have 1/8 of an inch border all the way around on a standard A2 size card base. That would look nice. You could raise it up with foam adhesive, or you could do like I'm going to do and kind of do an inlay style background to dress it up even more. The sky is the limit. You could also stick with maybe just a couple of flowers. I think it would even look awesome with maybe just those 2 down near the bottom, or 1 down near the bottom of the panel and the greeting. You wouldn't have to go over the top and fill the whole thing like I did here. I'm just loving all of these really fun, exclusive stamps as part of STAMPtember at Simon Says Stamp. Just the different versatility and all of the different styles that are available make it really super fun. And I love seeing what all these companies are coming out with and doing for us. That just makes it so extra special. What ended up being one of my favorite parts of these floral designs, and it's probably kind of silly, are the leaves. I don't know what it is, but I think maybe it's that pop of green on each of these really just makes the whole image. I didn't realize it would make as big of an impact as it does, but it really looks fantastic. Now, as I get towards the top of this panel, I am going to fill in the leaves in a couple of places, even though there aren't flowers, if that makes sense. There are a couple areas that are white spaces around the edges that really need something there. So I'm going to add leaves. For both of those areas on the panels, I only stamped the first 2 layers. The 3rd one wasn't really needed. For my inlay, to make this easy, I need something sticky to attach some Nouveau Gold gilding flakes. On a piece of cardstock, I have applied some Stick-It adhesive sheet to one side, and I'm going to run this through using the Simon Says Stamp Basics really thin frame die. This is one of my favorite dies. It is from one of the first, I think, Simon Says Stamp exclusive releases when they started branded products, and it still remains one of my favorite dies. This thin, teeny tiny little frame is so awesome for creating inlay style techniques. Now, on one side of this is the Stick-It, and that's where I'm going to apply the gilding flakes. I need to remove that area from my floral background. So I die cut that from the floral background, and I'm going to keep the wide frame, the inside panel, and then toss the little thin frame. I've put adhesive all over the top of a front top fold card base. and went ahead and put my outside frame down, and then I want to add the gilding flake frame. So I'm carefully peeling off that backing paper from the Stick-It and laying on the gold gilding flakes, rubbing off that excess with my finger. I'll go in with a blender brush, something to get rid of all of that excess here in a little bit. Just lay those flakes down, rub it all off, and the gilding flakes just create a fantastic effect. I love them. I kind of am addicted to them. I love seeing all the different things you can do, and it really makes for a beautiful border. This blender brush is going to move any of those little flakes off. You can kind of see on my white mat here that I have all those little flakes that still came off even after I cleaned up the big ones. So I like to make sure it's really good and clean, pick up all of the little flakes with a Swiffer duster cloth, and then I'm going to replace my gold gilded frame right next to that outside die cut frame. Basically, I'm putting this panel back together, but replacing that thin little die cut frame with the gold gilded one. Then I'm going to go ahead and adhere my inside middle panel, and part of that wasn't sticking very good, so I went and put a little liquid adhesive in, brush off any excess, and I'll add some finishing detail to my flowers with a white opaque pen, kind of coming in from this, or coming out from the center, following the darkest color of ink. I'm just adding some nice little lines. It's a fourth layer basically of detail, and really add some nice embellishment to these flowers. So I'm coming out from the center of all the flowers, plus I'll add a little highlight to the center of the flower. And I want to make sure that I do all of them. And the difference between the flowers that I have added this to and the ones I haven't, I think you can really see a difference in that. It was beautiful as is. This is just, again, kind of one of those times where I went over the top with my embellishing and I just didn't want to stop. Once I have all of my little white lines in place and all that detail added, I probably could have even done it to the leaves. However, I didn't. I just kept it to the flowers. I want to add some Nouveau crystal drops, just a little scattering of them throughout the card. You could use enamel dots, sequins, all kinds of different things. If you don't have Nouveau crystal drops or don't want to use them, don't want to wait for the drying time, because they do need to sit and dry for a good 24 hours. I'm going to use the pale gold Nouveau crystal drops to match the gold embossing and the gold gilding flakes, and add just a few in different sizes here throughout my card design. So several down by the greeting, kind of 2 in the middle of the card, and I like to turn my card around so that I keep my hand out of them because I've been known to smear them. And then I'm going to set this aside to completely dry. I like to tap the back of it. If any of them kind of have a little pokey top, a teardrop top instead of a nice rounded top to them, I like to just tap the back, and it kind of helps even and flatten them out a little bit. I wanted to show the frames again, carefully peeling off that backing paper. I did not peel off all of the backing paper at once and then add the gilding flakes. Instead, I peeled off part of it and used that as a good place to hold on to the frame while I applied the rest of the gilding flakes. So I kind of just kept moving it off and around as I added the Nouveau gilding flakes. I had a YouTube viewer ask if the gilding flakes, if it's still sticky afterwards. If you have applied enough gilding flakes, it should not be sticky at all. It is simply a gilded frame at this point. It has that awesome gold gilding look, and it will not be sticky. I like to make sure I press those gilding flakes into whatever I'm applying them to really well. I usually use my finger to rub them in initially, and then go over them with a blender brush to remove any of the little flakes. And this little jar is going to last a long time. There are lots of flakes in it. Plus you can see all this excess from what I created I'm putting back in my jar. So this is going to last for a really long time. I've used it on a bunch of projects already and it still looks like the jar is brand new. Again, going over my gilded frames with you can use a stippling brush, or this is a blender brush, all kinds of different things. Just something kind of rough will get rid of any of those little excess flakes. For the inlay, adhesive directly on the card base, and then I like to work outside in. The wide outside frame first, the gilded frame next, fit snug right next to the stamped frame, and then the middle. And I'll do that for all three. Really fun way. I think it would be fun to even maybe do a whole rainbow assortment of these cards. Do the whole, you know, spectrum of the rainbow, starting from pink and reds, orange, yellows, greens, blues, and purples. Do an entire set, package them up really pretty, and give them as a gift. Even after I have the cards all put together, I like to go over them with the blender brush, and just to make sure any of those little gilding flakes are not lingering around. And then just another look at adding the white pin detail to the flowers and what a huge difference that makes to the design. It adds a lot and really dresses up those flowers even more. Thanks for joining me today for this set of 3 cards featuring the Simon Says Stamp and Clearly Besotted STAMPtember exclusive stamp set, My Best Friend. The supplies I used to create these cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Simon Says stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.